Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your game, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome into another edition of the Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am Rob, and I'm here with the one and only Mr. Rob Norton. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How you doing tonight?
Good, brother. It's a mock night Monday. We are excited to get this going. Again, it's mock draft season, and we are ready to roll, dude. It's been fun. Norton kicking it off with JJ at the 1-1. So we are going to keep this sucker cruising and see how it goes, dude.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to get a little mock in. But yeah, no, I agree. Went with Jefferson first. I think it's pretty chalky, obviously. I honestly thought about taking McCaffrey at 2, or I mean at 1, especially with more news coming out, obviously, for running backs. It's kind of, to me, it's kind of like separating the top 6 a little bit. To the point maybe it gets them pushed up a little bit, and also the way that looks with the setting. I mean, I know it's just a mock, obviously, but it looked like it was 2 receiver, 2 running back. So in that, I think running back's technically going to get pushed up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious to see how the news that came out today. Obviously, we've seen it, so I'm curious to see what happens with Mondre, with Brees, and how it'll affect ADPs and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting. We'll see hopefully a little bit of what happens with this. It's probably going to take a few days for it to really kick in. But it'll be interesting.
Yeah. For sure. I agree. First somewhat little interesting tidbit there with Bijan going 3 overall ahead of McCaffrey.
Very. Some people love him. It's I've seen it, but it's not, the norm. We'll see how that pans out. What's your opinion on it? There's a lot of, RB1 to repeat is pretty tough to do. So it's I don't hate it, to assume that CMC is going to just automatically be that RB1 it's tough to predict,
Yeah, I agree. I do have CMC 1, Eckler 2, Bijan 3. So I do Tiff, double the Robs, double the fun. I agree.
That's right.
But yeah, I do have Bijan 3, so I wouldn't have taken him over those guys. But I get it. I think they're all kind of top tier. To be honest, I think there's about 6 guys, in my opinion, you can make a case for at 1 overall, maybe 5. But yeah, I think in most of them all of them are gone now, and I think it's either Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey, Eckler, Kelsey, and possibly Kupp too. Kind of the guys to me that you can make a case for going 1 overall. I like pick 6, honestly. I've
had some good teams from that spot. Some good teams
for sure. So,
it's one of those things, right? That it's like we don't see a ton of RBs going super early. It's been typically those first 4 receivers and Kelsey, stuff like that. But I'm curious when we get closer to redraft, if that kind of flips it back on its head, how it usually is, where it's, kind of 50-50 RBs, wide receivers, but it's been super heavy wide receiver this season. I'm curious. I'm curious just to see how that plays itself out when we get closer to the original or to the regular season.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because it's kind of what I was talking about a little bit earlier. So I saw Florio, our guy Michael Florio, put out a thing talking about how with the signing, like basically with the, there was a lot of early on. I felt like there was a lot of really good running back value. Now Zeke signs with the Patriots, that kind of pushes down Ramondre. You got obviously Dalvin Cook signed with the Jets, pushes down Brees. You got the holdout contract injury situations, whatever you want to call it, with Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor. Kind of pushes that top 6 really to be kind of a tier of their own. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see those top 6 really go in the first. I don't know if they're going to go all first round. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some drafts where they go all first round, but first 18 picks, I think it's going to be at least those 6. We see 5 of them gone already in the first 15. So yeah, it's interesting. So, and then, just looking at how it went, we got Jefferson, Chase, Bijan, McCaffrey, Kupp, Eckler, Tyreek, Kelsey, Diggs, Lamb, Amon-Ra, and A.J. Brown were the first round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still super wide receiver heavy, right? Like that's kind of how it's played out. But it's usually, to be fair, Jujo6, he said that he thought it was a dynasty startup, so I definitely get Bijan there at the 1-3. I do get that. So he might have went Kupp or something like that, but it's still kind of somewhat in that order. But Cooper Kupp at 5, I think, is a steal. I really do this season. Like he has all the upside of being wide receiver 1 again.
Yep,
he's
for sure.
He's just that kind of guy.
Yeah, the 5 and 6 pick there, I think, really good value with Kupp and Eckler. Either has the upside to be the number 1 overall player, and so I like what Tiff did there, but yeah, then like I was saying, Kelsey, I think I wouldn't do it, but I understand the case, considering how big of an advantage he was.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's more like 6 for me, 5 or 6, in that
Kelsey?
range. Yeah.
I mean, people are talking about taking him at the 101. Which,
that's what I'm saying.
Again, like I don't hate it, but it's so tough to take a tight end even in the first round, let alone 101, because then you're waiting a good, 23 picks, 24 picks until you're up again.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, no, for sure. So far what we got in the second, we got Saquon, Devontae Adams, Nick Chubb, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, and Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Taylor. So yeah, we're starting to see, that drop in running backs at this point. And I gotta say, I love your start. Lamb and Chubb.
Dude,
I'm here all day
come
for that.
away with that. That's what I wanted to see how it was going to play out. You had the 101, so I wanted to go on the back end and see how everything kind of fell to me.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking, we've been talking about it. You get some really good value at the back end with running backs. So if I can come away with like a CD Lamb, an AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs, and then pair him with a Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, I would take him there at 2-3. Like I think he's that good.
Same.
Especially with all the other question marks around. Like there's not a ton around Saquon Barkley, but I still think Pollard's, for me, I have him ranked ahead of Barkley, so I would probably take him over him. But then you got question marks with Jonathan Taylor, even though he reported today. Derrick Henry's another year older. There's still a ton of question marks in that. After the McCaffrey, Eckler, Bijan, like Nick Chubb's kind of my next guy, and then I'd probably go with Pollard.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Pollard, Chubb is my 4, Pollard's my 5, and I think the next one for me is 6 is Saquon, and then it's a teardrop.
Yeah,
because after that I think Derrick Henry's kind of like in that little bit of his tier of his own. Like to me, he's a step below those guys because all those guys have pass catching chops, and Henry doesn't, and he's getting a little bit older than them too. So like he's kind of a step behind for me. He has the ability to be up there if he continues to be crazy efficient, but he's a little bit behind that top 6, and then he's above. Now I've moved him, I think, with all the news, to 7. And then, after that, you got the group of like Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, where if they report, they're gonna be right in that range and probably be above for me. I technically have them above Henry still technically in my rankings, but if I was drafting right now, I'd take Henry over them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting though. It looks like we finished out the second round with Olave, Henry, Waddle, and then on my turn I took Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith. Now normally I kind of was interested to see. I was hoping one of Olave or Henry fell to me, because after Olave is a drop for me, and then after Henry, like I was mentioning, is a drop. So after that point, I was like, well, I'm going to try something else and see, because normally I would have been probably taking Ramondre there. That's what I had been doing originally, but with the news, I'm dropping him down a bit. And then I have it real close between Devontae and Higgins, and figured if I take Hurts, might as well take Devontae at that point.
Yeah, dude, I agree with you. I hate this. I'm going to go with our guy here. It's definitely a little spicy, but he's not going to last to me. Oh, boy. I'm going to go with DJ, I think, in the 4th here, early 4th, which is definitely a little risky, but I'm all in on him this year. We both seem to be somewhat high on him. So starting with Lamb, Nick Chubb, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then DJ Moore, I'm pretty comfortable with that start. Again, I didn't love what was falling to me there at my 310. It wasn't, my favorite spot
with Gibbs.
So I went with like who was left on the board. So I went with Jahmyr over Stevenson, over who else was there? We had Debo there. We had Breece Hall still was there, and I'm scared of it right now.
Yeah,
bringing Dalvin in, I think he might drop pretty significant just because of that. I mean, one, you got to think, if they're bringing Dalvin in, there's some injury. It's an injury thing, right? Like he's not fully healthy yet. Taking DJ there for me, I think was in the 4th. The only person I questioned was Amari Cooper. It was between those two for me, and I just think the upside's more with DJ Moore over Cooper, so I'm swinging for it. And we'll kind of see how it plays out. But we had big RB kind of hit there at the back half of the 3rd into the 4th. We went ETN, Gibbs, Mixon there at 311. I love that pick. And then Ramondre, Ken Walker, Aaron Jones, even at the 4-2. Like, I love that start. He has Amon-Ra, Devonta Adams, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, which that's a pretty good mix of players that if Devonta Adams does what he has, commonly done, been a top 5 wide receiver, you have some fire there with that lineup. And then I'm curious about how this one's going to pan itself out with the Jujo 6. Bijan, Derrick Henry, Calvin Ridley. That's what we've been seeing a ton of. If you start with 2 RBs to start your draft, you come back with Calvin Ridley as your wide receiver 1, because you're playing that upside game, right? If you're going RB heavy in the front, you got to hope that Calvin Ridley can be that top 10 wide receiver that we've seen him be. And if he is, then you're killing the positional advantage at the RB game, right? So if you can come away with the top 10 wide receiver in the 3rd, Calvin Ridley's kind of, you got Keenan there, Metcalf, and that's kind of like, those are the 3. I would take Calvin over Metcalf, I think, for the upside of it. Keenan is an interesting one for me. I think Keenan has the potential to get into the top 12 again. We've talked about it a lot. They're going to throw the ball a ton. And if he stays healthy, he should be in that top 12 category. But Calvin can get there. Then he taps with Mike Will in the 4th. So it's an interesting start. I'm very curious to see how that team turns out, because that's one of the first I've seen go RB to start this season, because it's just not too common this year with wide receivers and the depth of it. Nort, who are you going?
Man,
starting with JJ, Hurts, Devontae Smith. I like the Hurts Devontae Smith tag. Very smart on your part. I'm obviously you have him ranked above Calvin Ridley. I know that. Do you have him above Keenan right now?
You saying Devontae?
Yes.
Yeah, I do have Devontae above Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is one of my kind of. I've been moving him up, but not as fast as everyone else. Yeah, he's a tough one for me. I'm really pretty torn, and I mean, I'm really torn with this pick, to be honest.
It gets thin, don't it? It gets thin like after the fourth
I'm
round.
gonna try
like
something different here.
Okay, I like that. Oh, you're going heavy Philly stack. I like it.
Going, yeah.
I
I was debating. I didn't love necessarily the running back situation. I probably would have taken your boy if it was. It's a little bit concerning though. Yeah, I would have went. Yeah, I would have went Miles Sanders there if I went running back. I debated Sanders there.
Tiff going with Miles, my dude.
Yeah, she's got it.
I like her start.
Yeah,
like her start. She's coming for us, dude. She's sniping our players.
I know. I was gonna take Pitts. I was gonna take Pitts at the turn. I'm gonna take Watson.
I like that. She's sniping our. She joined just to mess with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate it.
Making me try a little something different.
A little something, huh? Let's see who we got. Dude, Joe Burrow still hanging out there is an interesting. He's an interesting one. I think I'm still in on him. I know you're not as high, but Drake London in the 5th. The potential. I know you're still semi in on him.
Yeah, actually, the funny part is I have him above some of these receivers that went already.
Okay.
My main gripe about London is when he goes before Pitts, just because I love both guys, but most drafts that you'll see, London will go at least 2 rounds generally before Pitts.
He just got my dude.
Snipe there. I considered Waller. I actually do have Waller 1 spot ahead of Goddard in my rankings.
I would have went in there. Yeah.
I would have taken him normally, but I wanted to get that full stack with the Eagles having Hurts, Devontae, and Goddard.
Yeah.
So that's what
Marquise there as my wide receiver 4. I'll tell you what, we had on Dave Kluge. He came onto the pod. We just dropped that episode this week. Tuesday, I think it came out. We talked specifically about the Chicago Bears, but then we asked him who his my guys were, and he went with Marquise Brown as his my guy this season. And the points he laid out really changed my perspective on Marquise Brown this season. And I think I'll probably have a ton of shares of him. If you think about it, the real question marks last season, right, were when he was in the game, just him and Kyler, he was a top 12 wide receiver. And then DeAndre Hopkins came back, fell off a cliff, got hurt, all that kind of stuff. And then Kyler gets hurt, right, with the knee injury. Kyler should be back within the first month of the season. That's what it's looking like, maybe even game 1. Now you take Kyler, and everyone's kind of knocking him fantasy-wise because he's not going to be able to run anymore. But let's not forget, he's probably a top 10 passing quarterback in the league, even without the rushing upside. If anything, Kyler hurting his knee coming back, his arm's going to be fine. It should bump Marquise Brown up if you think about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's I like Hollywood a good amount.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely fine with the Hollywood pick there. Let's see here.
Who do you want? Connor Kamara stack. How are you going with the oldies?
So the Connor to me is like the absolute
squad.
Connor is the ideal running back for a 0 RB squad.
Yeah,
I'm not usually a pure 0 RB kind of guy in general. I usually like to get one of those top 6, but then maybe Henry even, or obviously as the season gets closer, if Taylor and Jacobs are in there, I'm in there for them too. But I do if I do end up in this situation where I didn't love the value and take what I did earlier, Connor is the perfect guy because he's been good. He gets a lot of volume. He's been good whenever he's healthy, and Tiff, I'm with you on a Geno stan. He's
A lot
my
of
QB
Geno
11.
stands. A lot of Geno stands. I think A49er. Are you Trav? I think that's Travis from our pod the other day. He's a great dude. So I'm pretty
definitely
positive that's it. That's who he is. Let's go. Tiff, let's see. Tiff, Geno in the 6th. I like it, man. She's got a squad coming together. Oh, AJ from Twitter. Okay. What's up, AJ? Thanks for joining, brother. We appreciate you. I thought that was Travis. He's a 49er fan. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
He was on with us. I can't remember his handle now on Sleeper. He was on with us last mock, and he had a similar squad, actually, to be honest with you. But AJ, you sniped my Darren Waller pick. I'm a little upset, to be honest with you, because that was going to be my 6th round pick. If I can get Darren in the 6th, I'm taking that all day. I should have honestly considered him in the 5th. I just wasn't looking at it enough. And I would have
take that instead of London.
Yeah, I probably would have went Darren there at 5'10". But it's all good. I like how my team's shaping out. I'm going to be piecing the tight end position together as always, but that's how it goes for most teams, right?
That's true. Yeah, it's interesting. So Dalvin Cook, I mean, I know it was an auto here, it looks like. So it's interesting. Yeah. Do you think that's the right spot for him, though?
That's a good question.
Because I still would take James Cook, I think, over Dalvin.
I would take James Cook. There. But I don't hate it. I can't hate Dalvin Cook. He's going to get work. He's going to be included in this offense. They paid him a good amount of money, man. Like it wasn't chump change. So I'm going to go Jordan here. Something I talked about with Corey Easterday. When you look at it, we've talked about this a little bit, Norton, where these rookie wide receivers coming into the league, their ADPs are suppressed just because you haven't seen it, right? Like it makes sense when you sit back and like, okay, we don't know what they're going to do when they get into the NFL. So obviously we'll take them late, but time in, time again, these rookie wide receivers come in good situations, even not great situations, and they outproduce where they're going in ADP. Like look at Garrett Wilson last year. Look at Chris Olave. Look at all these guys that came in first round draft capital and they just smash their ADP. Even if I don't get Addison for the first half of the season, like I'm fine with that because I still have a good amount of wide receivers ahead of them. But if Addison can really flip it that back half of the season and catapult me into the playoffs and throughout the playoffs, like him going in the 8th could be a steal.
I agree. I love Jordan Addison and that value right there. Yeah, so Jason asks, how far did Breece Hall and Ramondre Stevenson drop with the new signings? So looks like Ramondre went last pick of the 3rd round, so right there on the 3-4 turn. And behind running backs like Etienne went before, Gibbs went before, Mixon went before. And then Breece fell almost to the 4-5 turn at 4-11. Guys like Dameon Pierce, Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker went before. So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting to see. Do you think those are the right ranges for them?
It's interesting, right? Who specifically? Anyone specifically out of that bunch?
Let's see. Make these little picks here, and then I'll.
Yeah, go ahead.
I
forgot.
No, you're good. You're good. Would you take? Okay, let's start with Ramondre. Would you take? You obviously took Gibbs over Ramondre.
I did. Yeah, I took Gibbs. I think Ramondre.
Would you take Mixon?
Yes,
I would too. Would you take Aaron Jones?
Yes. That's a tough one. It's kind of a very similar situation.
That's gonna.
Honestly, I'd probably go Ramondre there over Aaron Jones.
It's an interesting area.
Yeah.
I think.
So if you look at it like Ramondre is the Aaron Jones of the Pats, Z coming in is AJ Dillon-ish kind of coming in.
Right.
But the only thing, Ramondre is the younger back, and that's my
Yeah.
They're so similar right there where I'm going to go with the age in that, where I think, another year on Aaron Jones, you never know when they're going to really fall off a cliff.
Yeah, no, I still would have, just quick thinking about it, I would take Ramondre over Jones, Ramondre over Kenneth Walker, Ramondre over Pierce for me still. Where it gets tricky for me would be ETN, because I'm down on ETN. I know you're higher than me on ETN, so you probably take an ETN.
Yeah, I think I'd go ETN there. I still believe in him. I still think he's a great back, and even if his touches come down slightly, I think he'll be a lot better on the goal line. That's kind of my one thing. I think he's going to get more pass volume. I think he'll still be.
Then you're saying then last year or Ramondre?
ETN. I think ETN is going to be more efficient around the goal line.
Than he was last year.
The numbers didn't make sense when you look at it. Like, they were so bad that like it can only go up. And if he gets half of the work, he should get even more touchdowns. Like, if he's league average around the goal line.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing with ETN is I feel like it's one of two ways. You either you can expect kind of regression to the mean, like, or the other way is to look at it is that he might lose work. Like, they're both possibilities. I mean, it's. I'm a little bit concerned. Obviously, I'm more concerned than you, but I mean, I don't think I think the pass work to me was more concerning than the goal line stuff. But that's the thing is, like, I think I'd still take Ramondre over ETN. It's very close. They're probably going to end up being back to back in my rankings, I think, because basically, like, to me, I have similar concerns about both. I think with Ramondre, it's more of I'm more concerned about goal line than ETN, but with ETN, I'm more concerned about pass work. And when it comes down to it, I'm going to lean to the guy I feel like when it's the concerns like that, I would rather lean to the guy I feel better about the pass work. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But and then with Breece Hall, I think he's fallen to the right because I actually was considering taking him on that turn.
Breece right there.
Yeah, at the 4-5 turn, because
4-5. Because where was he going? Like the second, late second, early third.
Yeah, third. Right? Yeah, and so getting him at 4-5, I was looking at the running backs left, and it would have been basically I would have had to be between either Breece Hall, Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, Akers, Javonte, Madison, Swift, and like Breece to me has more upside than any of them. Miles would be the only other one I could consider right there with him out of that group.
If you go, let me ask you this: if you go Breece, well, and then as we're talking, we can kind of answer this question. Was really hoping Cook wouldn't sign with the Jets. Was hoping to grab Hall, because I 1,000% agree with you. That just shows me that they're not as in on, or not as happy with Breece's knee, how it's coming along. If you take Breece, say you take him in the third, fourth, say you take him in the fourth, are you willing to go get Dalvin to kind of bridge gap you until Breece takes off?
Yes. In best ball, no. In redraft, yes.
Okay.
So for me, like, obviously in best ball, when it comes down to it, I don't really care. I just want one of them to hit. I'd want the other one not to hit. So I'm just going to take shots on it, and I'll take them on different teams. But yeah, so I that's kind of how I see it for that. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'd rather probably go for another running back to bridge the gap early on,
like a David Montgomery, somebody like that.
Yeah, David Montgomery. Like, I took James Conner.
You can, a sneaky play to get you through 3 weeks. Jamal Williams, man, you could get him super like in the 15th round. He's going to be featured in that offense at least for the first 3 weeks, I would assume.
Yep, he's another one. The other one I was thinking of too, as an option, would be like a who was the guy I was just thinking of? Samaje Perine. Early on, that you can get really late.
Maybe Sky more.
But yeah, Perine's a guy
he just went in
get.
the 10th. Yeah, he just won the 10th. See,
Yeah,
that one scares me. Now I'm scared a little bit of Pirine because of all the good stuff we're hearing out of camp of Javonte, right? Like, to me, it's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around Javonte and Brees right now because it should be flipped, right? It should be Brees is the one that's practicing. He looks good, and Javonte should be on the pup. So I'm having trouble kind of gauging that, but
yeah, it's weird. It's really
right?
weird,
Like,
especially considering all what we've heard
it's
for
just not
early
making sense.
on. But yeah, the Sky Moore pick was a little bit of a panic pick in a way for me. I was just looking at like I like the JMO pick for me. And I really haven't been like huge on JMO, but the way this structure is, if I'm just going to stash on the bench, I'm just looking for upside.
Yeah.
Once I get my starters, I'm just want as much upside as possible, and that's part of why I took Sky Moore and JMO there. Is I think those two out of like the wide receivers that we have available kind of have a lot of upside compared to most of them there.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they really, really hit, it's going to be really, really good. And plus, I already have. What's that?
I said Tiff going with Jaden Reed. She had to get some Packers on her squad.
For sure.
I like it. You got to do it. You got to go get your guys, right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing, too. So when I already have the elite, a top, to me, it's like a top 6 or 7 tight end, or top 7 tight end and top 6 or 7 QB. I'm not taking another one for the bench at all. Like, and so I'm just filling out all the way down with running backs and receivers, high upside, as much upside on the bench as possible at this point. That's the plan. That should be everyone's plan once they
100%. And that's starting to this season. I'm really starting to kind of hone in on trying to get one of those top 5 or 6 tight ends, just so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
because we've all been there where you take a tight end where you think, like, I took Cole Kmet last year in a ton of leagues where I thought he was going to be a stud. And, it lost me a bunch of weeks at the first half of the year because I just couldn't piece it together the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'd rather take a swing on a early tight end, try to get my guy, and then I don't have to draft another one and I can just pick somebody up later.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely makes things easier. You can spend less draft capital, less worry.
Let's get some Zeke here in the 11th. Do you think that's too early?
Not necessarily.
I think he'll be like a sneaky. He could pull that JMO role from Jamal Williams from last year, right on Detroit. Like, I don't anticipate him being a massive yardage kind of guy, but I think he could get 8 to 10 touchdowns easily on that team if he's the featured goal line back.
Yeah, no, for sure. He definitely could. I've been seeing about a lot of people saying he could go full LeGarrette Blount on him this year. So yeah.
Yes, Tiff. Yes, I did, and I will be sporting it next podcast. So tune in. Crop Top Mania is coming soon.
We're gonna drive. I got to drive the viewers in.
Got to do it some way or another, right? I mean, if I got to wear a crop top, I'll do it.
You may have to go all crop top team and snag Kyler at some point.
Oh, don't tell people my picks because I was planning on getting Kyler, dude.
That's true. That's the crop top stack.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, we'll have it ready, Tiff. We'll have it ready for you. How you like your team shaking out? You like it so far?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. It always feels uncomfortable for me to not having like at least just one. I really love like taking one high end running back. And I was hoping, like, what I was trying to do was take Jefferson and see if any of those top 6 or 7 fell to me in round 2. Because, dude, early in draft seasons, that's what I was loving. I was getting that Justin Jefferson, and I was getting I remember getting a Jefferson, Chubb, Pollard start, and I'm like, whew, that's a dream, and that's impossible now.
Dude, I'll tell you, I mean, early on in best ball, you were getting Nick Chubb late second into the third, and it was blowing my mind.
Yep.
that he was falling that far. And then, question marks started coming around some players, and people were like, what the hell are we doing? Because Nick Chubb is, he loses his main competition, pretty much his only competition in that backfield.
Yep.
You would think that he should skyrocket in volume and pass work, which we hope to see this season. And if he does, RB1 upside is easily in his possibility.
100%. 100%. I agree. He's like I said, he's my RB4 right now, and I do think he definitely has RB1.
Yeah, man, I want to see it because he's so good. He's so good. I just want to see him finish RB1 one season. And this year he got some recognition from the league where they voted him as the best RB in the NFL, and rightfully so, because I think he is.
Nice.
But we just need to see some pass catch. We just need some pass work.
Yeah.
Roshan at the 12. I like that pick. That's a great pick there. Good value. He's looking good in camp. It's interesting. I think it's gonna be a lot of. I was semi high on Dante Foreman coming over.
Yep.
Not high, but like I thought he would be in the mix enough. I think it's really going to be just the two, Roshan and Khalil Herbert. The more I look at it, and the more I'm seeing what's going on. Khalil Herbert looked really good in the first preseason game. They got some playmakers.
Yeah.
They got some playmakers. If the offensive line can keep Justin Fields upright, I think there's some big stuff that can happen in Chicago.
I was a little bummed.
Kluge's calling for 10 W's.
Optimistic.
Very optimistic. He called for 3. He said 3 wins last season. He flipped it to 10 this year.
They did do a lot of good things, I think, and they getting DJ Moore, I think, is huge for at least the development of Justin Fields. And I do, and plus obviously Rodgers gone, so I mean, who knows with Jordan Love in terms of like what they're going to win, how they're going to do. So, and then plus if the Lions Lions seem to be a super popular team in general. People love them. They're fun, but who knows with their defense and everything like that. I mean, it's possible that the Bears may end up surprising. Dude, I will say I wanted to take Jaylen Warren as one of the two. Jaylen Warren and Rashad Johnson. I really love taking Jaylen Warren like late in drafts. There you go, Tiff. I like it.
She's all in, baby. I gotta love it.
Gotta have faith and love for sure.
Damn, I was gonna go Kyler.
I think he knew you were heading for that crop top stack, dude. And that's
maybe if he's listening, he knew it was coming.
He knew. But yeah, I love Jaylen Warren as a late, because I think he can get on the field and have some standalone value right away in a pinch if you need pass catching kind of work. And then if Najee, like I think he has high upside handcuff value as a true like 3-down workhorse if Najee gets hurt. And like those are the kind of guys I love having late in drafts, and like I think Tyler Algier has that too, because we saw him be a workhorse, but I don't think he's going to be like if Bijan goes down and if Najee goes down, I'd rather have Warren because I'm more confident in the pass work for Warren than I would be for Algier. So, and
just the sheer, like, we know Pittsburgh is notorious for just running one back, right? So if Najee goes down, Warren, he should, by all accounts, Warren should just get that volume because they don't really like using running back by committee. And I think Warren proved it last season that he's a pretty good back. So they would probably just go strictly, for the most part, just him in the backfield. Yeah.
I think so too.
Dude, so how about this? Russ falling to the 13th. I mean, it's what we've been seeing kind of. Where are you looking at him this season? What's your outlook on him?
I'm getting more optimistic as it comes along.
And I hate it.
Yeah, I know. I kind of do.
But honestly, what did he finish last year? Is QB what? 13? 14?
16.
16.
Yeah.
I get it, dude. I get it, man. Last year was not great. And, he had some rough years in Seattle as well. But he finished it like QB 13, 14, and it was a miserable season. a miserable season. Like, you have to think that's kind of his floor.
That's it. Yeah, I was gonna say because he was. Yeah, I think so too. Honestly, some of the QB, QB's value in this one has been kind of crazy. Like
Yeah.
to me, was Daniel Jones was the biggest value.
Yeah.
Like 2 picks before that, right there.
If he fell to me at 13, I would have been ecstatic to pair him with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah,
I
love the Russ Wilson too.
Deshaun going 9, is that his ADP, like the 9th, late 9th? I thought it was like
Watson.
7th. Yeah.
He's been going, let's see, around 80s. So what is that? 7th, 8th?
7th. 80s is
Yeah.
the 7th, yeah.
And you almost got him at the end of the 9th. I feel like most of the QBs. Yeah. Most of the QBs.
Richardson, I know you love Richardson. Like, I get it. But him going above Deshaun Watson's a little crazy to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have Watson ahead of Richardson, and I love Richardson. So I love the value on Watson that you got there. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible value.
Final 2 picks for Nort. What are you thinking? If you take my guy, I'm going to be so mad at you. Okay, you didn't. But he is. Okay. I love Spears. I like Spears.
Yeah. So I'm not mad as you can see down on the end, I just took what to me would be upside running back stashes, basically. Like, any 4 of those guys I took. So the last 4 rounds of my draft: Roshan, Algier, Jerome Ford, Tajay Spears. Obviously, Ford's got a little bit of injury concern, but I mean, we're not expecting on him to do much until Chubb gets hurt anyway. So any 4 of those guys, starter goes down, they're the lead of every waiver wire article out there.
And Tiff snaked Luke Musgrave, but I wasn't going to go with him because I took Sam Laporta. But you took my my guy. I'm happy he got drafted. I'll say that.
Good old Musgrave, baby.
Oh, no, he got taken. When did Justin Ross get taken? Oh, 15-6, right before. I was going to go Justin Ross there.
Okay.
But it's all right. I'll take another swing with Marvin Mims, especially since I have Russ Wilson.
Yeah, I like Mims.
Again,
another
swing for the upside with a rookie wide receiver that could be that wide receiver 2 in this offense. If Cortland Sutton doesn't really do what he should, what we know he's capable of doing, if he's still just not up to it, I think Marvin Mims comes in and steals that wide receiver 2 role away from him.
It's very possible. Very possible. Yeah.
All right, dude. All right, Nora, let's go through your squad. That was kind of a quick 12.
Nice.
12 round 15. Yeah. Because then we can going quick. We can talk a little bit about the squad. So why don't you rattle off your team here, and then we'll discuss.
Yeah, you want me to run it down by pick or run it down by like
however you want.
Okay, so we'll go. I'll go down by starting lineup and then bench. So I got Jalen Hurts at QB. 2 running backs are Connor and Kamara. Justin Jefferson, Devontae Smith, and Christian Watson at wide receiver and flex, and Dallas Goedert. So I got the full Philly stack with Hurts, Devontae Smith, and Goddard. A little bit different than usual for me. And then obviously the running backs are the weakest spot. Went 0 RB, but then again supplemented that by taking Zach Charbonnet. Was one of my first bench guys. I'm pretty high on him. I think he can carve out a role right away, and I think he can has massive upside, kind of like I was talking with Warren. I think he's like a much better version of Warren. And then also have Quentin Johnston, Jameson Williams, Sky Moore on the bench. I think it's a ton of upside there with those wide receivers. Obviously, JMO took him knowing he's going to be suspended, but I'm fine with that. I have Jefferson, Devontae Smith, and Christian Watson in the 3 starting spots, so I don't need him until later on in the season anyway. And then, like I said, ran it out with 4 handcuff stash running backs: Roshan Johnson, Tyler Algier, Jerome Ford, and Tajay Spears. I think Roshan of that group can have some standalone value as well. And then all 4 of them, though, I think any of the guys go down, they step into a huge role. And to me, that's what you want on your bench, especially like the way this one was set up was 2 RB, 2 receiver, and a flex, so it's a little bit less starters than an average one. But that's why I'm gonna try to go massive upside.
Yeah.
So
if
yeah,
you go zero RB, that's the name of the game, right? Like, take some swings on the RBs late that you see a path, right? You need a path to, you want some standalone, but like you said, Roshan, Algier, Ford, Spears, like if any of the guys ahead of them get hurt, they're gonna get all of the work, and they're an easy top 12 RB coming in next. You know what I mean?
100%, and that's the thing. Like you said, like when you go this kind of route, when you take a 0 RB route, you want to get at least 1 or 2 running backs later that still are going to get volume right away. And that's what Condra is like perfect. He's one of the latest RBs with volume right away. So you want to fill it in, even if you don't feel great about the guy. It kind of feels gross. The guy's old, not on a great team, whatever, but you want to get volume, because what you're doing then is you're just taking a bunch of shots on upside running backs. So like I said, I have 7 on my team, I think. My bench is mostly running backs. Basically just knowing that the RB position is, so violent. There's so many injuries, things like that. I mean, you have to just take those shots, because like you said, anytime any of those starters go down, those are the top guys on the waiver wire articles every week. And so basically, if one of them goes down soon enough, then I have now multiple running backs I can plug in, and along with this, I feel like a stacked rest of the lineup.
Yeah, no, I like it, and that's a perfect approach to the 0 RB. What you did, that's how you play it. That looks pretty good.
Let's go. Ernest, Ernest says Team 4 looks pretty good. Love the mock.
Yeah, so he's starting with Josh Allen. His wide receivers are Chris Olave, Debo, Jerry Jeudy, and then starting RBs would be McCaffrey and Madison. Then he's got Mike Evans on the bench. Njoku's his starting tight end. McKinnon, Kareem Hunt, and Deuce Vaughn as backup RBs. And then he's got Odell, Romeo Doubs, and Dak Prescott as well on the bench. Yeah. I mean, as long as Debo hits, Debo is my biggest question mark, but you got Mike Evans sitting there as well. I mean, 2 question marks. So it's one of those, you're throwing darts. Like if one of those hits, you got something. You got a really good squad. Let's run through tips real quick, and then we'll do mine, and then we can close it out. Gino is her starting QB, which is Norton's favorite late.
I love that. Yeah,
QB to go for. She's going with Jonathan Taylor and Miles Sanders as her RBs, which are for me. I love them.
Yeah, and if we get word, like obviously Taylor returned to practice, it looks like. So if he's healthier, they're still talking about the ankle thing. But if he's healthier, I mean, then that's going to be a nice tandem there for the value, especially.
For sure, for the value, yeah. And then starting wide receivers are going to be Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, George Pickens in her flex. She's got Pat Freiermuth on the bench, backing up Kyle Pitts, which I love because, again, we saw what happened with Pitts last season. You got a really safe floor with Freiermuth. And then she's got Devin Singletary, Raheem Mostert, Clyde Edwards-Helaire as her backup RBs. She's got Jaden Reed, Van Jefferson on the bench for wide receivers. A little thin, it's okay. And then we got Brock Purdy backing up Gino, and she had to take a swing on Luke Musgrave because she knew that I would have taken him.
Yeah,
again, one of my favorite, favorite
yeah, for sure. I know. I was gonna say you've been hyping them up all off season, and she's got to go with her Green Bay guys. So
I hate that there's theme around it now because I can't get him in every draft. Or I was. I think he's easily my most rostered player on Best Ball.
Yeah, I love it.
I love every last round.
Well, that's the thing is he was basically free in every draft. You could get him as like your tight end 2 or 3 in the last round, pretty much every draft. And now he's starting to get steamed up a little bit.
Yeah, him and so it's at the beginning of Best Balls, it was him and Justin Ross. I was just my last 2 picks were always Justin Ross and Luke Musgraves.
There you go.
And now they were getting steamed up a little too high where I can't get them in every draft. So I'm a little upset, but that's how the game goes. For my squad, starting QB Deshaun Watson, and then I have Nick Chubbs and Jahmyr Gibbs as my RBs, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Drake London as my starting wide receivers. And then I went with for me, I think it's a really safe floor, somewhat high upside. Dalton Schultz, I think he's going to be fine. in Houston. I think he'll be targeted enough. And I took a swing on Sam Laporta as my backup tight end just in case he pops and, produces as we all hope he does. And then for my backup RBs, I went James Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, and Kendre Miller. And then backup wide receivers, Marquise Brown, Jordan Addison, and Marvin Mims. Backup QB is Russ Wilson. I actually really like this team.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually love your team. Super high on Chubb, super high on Lamb, super high on DJ Moore. I love Jordan Addison. I love where you got Deshaun Watson, especially for waiting on QB and tight end. Dalton Schultz is my 12, I think, but obviously it's 12 teams. So I'm fine with starting Dalton Schultz, and obviously you took an upside swing with Laporta too. And then Watson is my QB9, and you got him later than, that I have ranked QBs, after him. So Watson is a guy that I kind of have he's like in his own kind of tier to me in a way, right around there. So yeah, I love what you did with this squad, honestly.
Yeah. If this was my team coming out of the draft, I'd be super happy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Tony says, good draft, folks. Kind of wish this was a real team. I think he's Mr. Meeseeks, I'm pretty sure. Almost 100% sure.
Oh, okay. Let's see who he's got.
He was the one that Kelsey at 8, which I like the value of Kelsey at 8 because I even mentioned before I would take him as high as
I'd take him as high as 5.
Yeah, and
easy, probably 4.
Yeah,
that's where I'd go. Anthony Richardson is his starting QB, and he goes for the RB position. He's got Josh Jacobs, Cam Akers. I mean, yeah, that's in the 6th. Cam Akers, I like a lot.
I was going to say the only thing I personally would have taken Pollard over Jacobs, but I understand why taking Jacobs. If Jake as soon as Jacobs signs, he's going to shoot back up boards. Mm-hmm. I just love Pollard. You and I have been super high on Pollard. But Jacobs is in that elite tier to me too when he's there. So I don't have a problem with that.
No, I agree with you. I mean, we're the 2 high guys on Pollard, so it's the wrong crowd to be arguing those 2. But I don't hate the value of Jacobs midway through the 2nd. There's no question about it. And then he's got his wide receivers are T. Higgins, Amari Cooper, Brandon Ayuk. Really good upside with Ayuk in the 5th. I like that one a lot. Backup wide receiver or running backs are Rashad White, Brian Robinson, Tank Bigsby, Jeff Wilson, and Kenneth Gainwell, which a ton of talk that Kenneth Gainwell is the RB1 in Philly right now. So that could be a massive hit in the 15th round. That's pretty wild. He's going to start. I think he'll shoot up to draft boards a lot, to be honest with you, in the coming weeks. We'll see how that pans out. And then Rashad Bateman and Jonathan Mingo is his backup wide receiver. So he's got a lot of upside there. I like the squad a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not huge on Brian Robinson, but I like when you wait on that second RB and he got 3 from that tier of the guy, basically that tier the tier that's the same Connor tier for me, where it's Akers, Connor, Rashad White, Madison, Robinson, all these guys where you don't feel great about it, but you just want to get some volume out of them. I love Tank Bigsby as a late upside stash. He's along with Warren and Spears and all those, Roshan and all those guys that I talked about. And like you said, Gainwell's going to rise, and insane value on Daniel Jones to me. Daniel Jones is my QB 12, so you got him at QB 16 or
almost
17
in the
or
14th round. Getting Daniel Jones is crazy because his upside is, for me, it's one of the few that he could catapult easily into the top 6, 7. I mean, there's no reason. Rushing, we know what he can do, right? He's great. He can score touchdowns. He's going to get yards. Can he pass enough, get enough work in the pass game, and kind of open up that side of the game where he can jump into that top 8 QBs?
Yeah.
It's doable.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you something. Tony said Pollard versus Jacobs was 100% my debate. So yeah, he was right there thinking the same thing. So it makes sense. Thing I was going to ask you too. So I was trying to look through here, quick glances, and I was going to ask you what your favorite value was at each position. So when I'm looking at QB, my favorite value was was Daniel Jones with honorable mention as Deshaun Watson, to be honest.
I was going to say, I mean, for me, it's Deshaun Watson because he's, I think, my QB7.
Okay.
So getting him that late, like, I didn't expect him to fall like that. So I was thrilled that happened. I'm curious how far Joe Burrow is going to fall. So that could, like, in the 5th, late, almost the 6th round, getting Joe Burrow is a pretty good steal. If that calf injury is not as hard, like, bad as we think. And then he followed it up with Kirk Cousins, like, he's going to be fine until Joe Burrow gets back. And then you plug Joe Burrow in and you got a top 5 QB. So that's a pretty good hit almost in the 6th round.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Like with Burrow, I was wondering how far he's going to drop in drafts in general.
Yeah. There's so many players. It's hard to kind of,
gauge part of it. I was going to say part of it, like with, like I'm still fine taking Hurts where I did, but like if I would have known I could get Daniel Jones as late as that went, I probably would have just taken a different route, even if I didn't love the receivers and running backs at that point. I might have just taken a different route, knowing I could get that. But I like it. But with running backs, who was kind of your favorite value and like an honorable mention there?
Let's see here. I think Kenneth Gainwell, again, we were talking about it. In the 16th, again, if he's the RB1, like everyone's saying, like that's nuts.
If, as I say, if that comes to fruition, right?
Yeah, like taking a stab right there is awesome. I mean, Miles Sanders in the 5th is kind of where he's going. It's kind of cakey, right? It's kind of chalk where these guys are going.
Yeah.
Brees fell around a full round, so that's an interesting. We'll see how that plays out. So, I mean, I would probably go Javonte at 6'7" would be my favorite.
Okay.
Draft piece there, because I think the more I'm reading, the more I'm hearing stuff out of camp, like he should start rising into like the 4th, 5th round.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I'm still real leery on Javonte. I'm kind of like trying to not make the same. I'm kind of basically kind of doing the same thing as I felt like with last year when we saw Dobbins hyping himself and I'm gonna play week 1 and this and every camp video or camp talk was all hype for him.
Did Dobbins start on the pup? He did, right?
Yes.
I think he missed the first 2 weeks of the season. Like
that's why. Too.
That's why this Javonte stuff to me is so wild, because he's not even on the pup.
For sure.
So the team is like, you're good, dude. You're good to go.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's tough to the value there. The Gainwell value obviously is good. I kind of like Antonio Gibson, although I've kind of been warming to him a little bit more lately. I love the Tony Pollard still, like getting him anywhere, mid to late second. I love doing that. So I love that. But yeah, it's hard to, it seemed like a lot of the running backs kind of went in values where they should be.
Yeah.
What about receiver for you?
Receiver, it's kind of where he's going, but I still think Elijah Moore is criminally underdrafted. I think he's going to kill that ADP. And then again, someone that's rising on my boards, the more I'm looking at it, is Michael Thomas. Like, I think Michael Thomas should be up a little bit more than he is. Again, he was the top, I want to say 15 wide receiver when he was healthy last season. Again, we know injury history, stuff like that. But if you can get him as your wide receiver 4 or 5, have him on your bench, even you're starting him at flex or something like that. Like, he's one of those players that if you get him that late, he can be a wide receiver. He could be a wide receiver 1. That's not out of the realm of possibilities for Michael Thomas. Like, it can definitely happen. There's going to be enough pass volume in that offense for both him and Chris Olave to sustain really good seasons. So those are the guys that I'm starting to kind of hone in on, would be like Michael Thomas, Jahan Dotson, where I think Elijah Moore, those guys in those later rounds where I'm really starting to look at those guys.
Yeah, I kind of love that grouping. Like for me, it's like those guys that you named along with like JSN, Addison, Burks, QJ. I know people have been sour on Burks, but Burks, QJ, That kind of group for me is kind of where then after that grouping, it's a big drop off for me, where it's like a lot of question marks after that. But I really love, I do love the value of the guys you mentioned, like, and on JSN, Dotson, Addison, like those three on that kind of turn there. Love that value. Obviously, I love me some Christian Watson, so I have him at wide receiver. I have him wide receiver 16, and so anytime I feel like I get him, like after that is.
And then honestly, dude, Deontay Johnson in the 6th.
That's
we've been talking about it all year.
Yep,
he's just undervalued.
That's the other one. I was hoping he would maybe slide back to me. I figured it was a long shot, but I have him a top 24 running or wide receiver, I believe. So. Yeah, I love the value there. And see, normally I love the value on Lockett, but the problem with Lockett is, in this draft at least, was he went 5th and JSN went end of 7th. Whereas normally a lot of times you see the reverse. You see JSN has moved ahead of him in a lot of drafts. So like that's why I normally like Lockett, is because you can get him so cheap. In this, I still like Lockett. I don't think it's bad value where he went. I just think I would have, in this case, I'd rather take the JSN value than where Lockett went in this draft specifically.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tight end, anyone?
Tight end, Waller.
You're right, baby.
Well, and it's usually him or Pitts in every draft for me, as I think is the best value, because to me, I have them both. I have them 3 and 5, I think, because I rank it Pitts, Hockenson, Waller, and Pitts and Waller are always the latest of the top 7 to go, and I think that's a big drop off after that. So, whichever one goes latest, and in this draft it was Waller. So Waller in the 6th was best value to me.
Yeah, for me it's easy. It's Waller. Like there's not even anyone close.
Yeah,
in that for me.
Yep. No, I'm with you. And then I guess my second favorite would have been Dulcich, I think, because I have Dulcich Dulcich and Schultz. I like where you took Schultz because I have them back to back. And so the only reason I technically said Dulcich is because he's going later, even though you guys took him same round technically. But yeah, I have them back.
I debated between those two.
Yeah. So
I think Schultz is for my first, tight end. I think he's a safer play.
Yeah.
Than Dulcich. I think Dulcich could really boom, or there's a possibility he busts too.
Yeah. Yep. No,
Schultz,
definitely.
I think will be safe.
Yeah, and Tony says injury to Henry and Burks could blow up. I think the next signing is a benefit to his game. Only question is pass volume. Yeah, definitely the volume is the main concern, obviously, for Burks. So
sure.
It's remains to be seen. But
anytime, dude, we'll be here.
Anytime, AJ.
We'll keep sending them out, so keep checking out for him.
Definitely.
All right, boys. Nort, anything else before we let the viewers go? This was a fun one.
Yeah, definitely a fun one. Make sure everyone's checking out tomorrow. We dropped it on Twitter today. We got the next one of the divisional series coming out, and it's a
big one.
Yeah,
it's a big one. We got AFC East. We have Michael Florio is hopping on with us. We have Jesse Morse is there. We have Andrew the Cooper, one of my favorite people ever, and then Conan Gruen for One Stat One Day on Twitter. So check that out because it's going to be awesome. Ton of great guests. It's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely check that out. 8 p.m. tomorrow. It will be out.
Absolutely.
All right. For Nort, for me, this is Dad Bod. Peace.
Thank you for watching our episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
If you aren't already following us on Twitter, check us out at DadBodFS.
We'll be posting all of our best clips and videos to all of our social media: TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on there at DadBod Fantasy Squad.
Lastly, if you'd rather just listen, we make sure we post our audio of each episode on all the major streaming platforms. Stick with us all season long so together we can count our trophies and not our calories.